Summer is here, and after nearly a decade, a new TF2 update has come along. Some of you might have even noticed there's a nice surprise coming with this update, the Versus Saxton Hale game mode. Yes, the very community game mode, the Versus Saxton Hale game mode, has become official in vanilla Team Fortress 2, and that means I have to recollect my royalties. For centuries, my old music and the work of the voice actor involved in it, Drugs the Shredder, have influenced this very game mode since its very inception, and believe it or not, it had something to do with one very particular music track that I made based on TF2 alone. This is the untold story of how Drugs and I have influenced and revolutionized the TF2 Versus Saxton Hale mode. I played Team Fortress 2 since its release, and so far I've accumulated over 280 hours on this game's lifetime. You might think for a bit that I'm more of a casual TF2 player these days, and you might be wondering, how the hell does a casual TF2 player who composes crappy drum and bass music have an involvement with the Saxton Hale game mode? Well, it all started on December 12, 2009, during the release of the War update on TF2. Saxton Hale by then had a minimal appearance on a sniper update for a while, but on that very fateful day, a comic page from the War update set off the events. The comic itself was back then slowly brewing and releasing pages throughout the days of the update, as demo men and soldiers were competing to see who kills the other side the most. But this particular comic page was the spark that ignited this whole story. On page 7 of the comic, Saxton Hale will immortalize the words that started it all.
Right there. If you thought the first 2 pages of my comic contained too much bare-knuckle excitement, then get ready to have your eyes break from widening in surprise and your comic-holding hands fall off your very arms when you get a look at the rest of this action-packed ish starring me, Saxton Hale! This sensational issue doesn't stop your adrenaline-gorged heart for 5 entire seconds, I will send you a notarized certificate confirming you do not exist!
As I read these lines from the comic, back when I used to do a plethora of electronic music of sorts, inspiration struck. But how was I sure I will get the voice lines for the track if there's no recorded voice lines of this back then? There was barely anything like what we know of Saxton Hale's original VA then. And I just had one single contact that will change the course of Team Fortress 2 history forever.
I don't even remember a lot about this because it happened so long ago. This is a long time ago. But it was relatively early in my popularity on the internet. And JMAA had contacted me via email requesting me to record the, what are they called, the comic words, and I was like, it's just like 2 or 3 things, so that's fine. And so I did, and I did a really bad Australian accent, and anyone who listened to the song complained about it. And I didn't ask for money because it was just 3 lines, and I still don't really know what to charge people or when to charge people. Sometimes I use money as like this is unrelated, but sometimes I use money to keep myself out of projects I don't like. It's a little industry secret. Somebody suddenly is charging you money. No one else is charged, and it's probably just they don't want to be in your stuff. Sorry, I probably should. I don't know. I don't have much to say about it. The initial contact, it was just an email, and I said yes because it was cool. I loved Team Fortress 2 at the time, and I wanted to do Saxton Hale's voice when I saw it, so I said yes.
Drugs the Shredder was a rather professional voice actor and I had somewhat access to. I needed to do me a favor of recording the voice lines for free. By the way, just a little caveat for those uninitiated, how do I put it? Pay your damn voice actors! That being said, I was lucky I got the voice lines and I constructed a music track that I will start it all, uploaded it to my old Bandcamp on YouTube, and this is how it sounded like.
If this sensational issue doesn't stop your adrenaline cords hot for 5 entire seconds, I will send you a notarized certificate confirming you do not exist!
By many people's standards back then, especially for music composers, this was pretty much sounding like amateur time. But little do you know, this little YouTube music track alone will kickstart a whole meme, and to go along with it, a whole new custom game mode. The Saxton Hale music video will later slowly grow to have hundreds of thousands of views on the old channel. Currently there's no specifics about how many views there were because the channel got terminated. A guy by the name of Lizard of Oz, previously known as Dr. Eggman back then, on the Team Fortress 2 community, somehow noticed this, especially the voice lines made by Trox, and by that time he was making a Team Fortress 2 mod that will spawn the origins of this very game mode.
That was also another just simple... They sent me a contact and were like, hey, we saw your voice lines in this song and we're making a game mode that has Saxton Hale in it, and we've been using, do you have the original lines, and would you be willing to do some additional lines? So, I of course said yes. I don't know what else. And you want my thoughts on being contacted? That's really all that happened. I saw it. I was like, oh, this is awesome. They made it already, but now they want more lines. And I was super excited. I was so happy with being a part of the mod. I don't know. It was still very niche at the time. I think it probably still is now, even though it's coming back into. Everybody's really excited to have their TF2 back because it comes back in waves over long sleeping periods. But yeah, that's it. That's really about all that I can say about being contacted by the mod maker. They just asked and I said yes, just like the first time. They did the same. They're just like, hey, you want to do this? I was like, yeah. And then I did it because I do what I asked to do, unless I forget to do it. Then I do not, but if I'm reminded, then I do it.
By now, you know how the original Versus Saxton Hale mod worked, and Drox's lines made it into it, with some extra additions to the voice. Drox was made to be the OG Saxton Hale voice actor, and he was seemingly predestined to be so, but other circumstances will interfere. The community content for Team Fortress 2 over the years has been on a constant stream of new content, but as of the original Team Fortress 2 developer team, there wasn't as much. Valve was prioritizing other projects such as Dota 2 or CSGO over TF2 given the circumstances, leaving the TF2 team with only one single developer back then. Updates for the game will gradually trickle down slower, like if the tab was closing, occasionally giving out community content from the Steam Workshop in the form of cosmetics and maybe the occasional new map. And especially considering other people's games on Steam were the topmost priority for Valve, TF2 will remain last place in the company's priorities. And then, something struck that seemed like a gleam of hope in the skies. The Jungle Inferno update will arrive in 2017, and by now things were already sour. I was already in the fall ride for not making Team Fortress 2 content, Drox was busy with other projects for voice acting, and the Team Fortress 2 community was desperate for an oasis of new content, but a video presenting the update will change the whole panorama. Saxton Hale was briefly showing up in the first TF2 official video featuring him, but the voice actor for him was not the original. It would seem something had gone wrong during the production.
I was not the most active individual on TF2 at the time. Most of the updates were not stuff I was particularly into. But I did love Man vs. Machine, but playing TF2 itself was not as fun as it used to be for the years I had played. During the early 2020s, I was hacked. Somebody sent me a link, and that someone was a good friend of mine who I had trusted, and the link turned out to be a phishing link. Unbeknownst to both me and my friend, we had both fallen victim to a phishing scheme, and both our accounts were compromised. I went to sleep not knowing that this was happening, and for 8 hours, the phisher would send the link to my friends and block anyone who called him out. When I woke up, I saw the messages denoting my account's strangeness and addressed it, but I don't think I ever unblocked the original mod maker. To be fair, it had been easily 5 to 6 years since we last talked, and I didn't recognize his name in the ocean of the hundreds the hacker blocked. So basically, if that never happened, I would be Saxton still. Don't get hacked, kids.
While these circumstances happened and there was no malice on the side of Valve, these all seem like the times are pretty different to where in the absence of not only Drugs' contact, not just on my part but also on everyone's part, including Lizard of us, but also a tiny bit of skepticism for the future of TF2 as a whole. It all seemed like Drugs noticed they needed him when it was already too late, during all the lack of communication. And again, TF2's updates were trickling down slower than before, eventually to a point where the game was considered dead, with barely any updates and developers to sustain it. It all seemed like all hope was lost, until this day, on 2023. In the summer of 2023, Team Fortress 2 will face an update like never before, resurrecting the whole game from its grave. The Summer 2023 update. It had a whole plethora of new maps, new cosmetics, and even new game modes, including the Versus Saxton Hale one. It all seemed like Lizard of Oz was in cahoots with Valve for a while, since he managed to make a version of the Versus Saxton Hale game mode that was compatible with vanilla TF2 and uploaded it to Steam Workshop, being lucky enough to be featured in the new map roster. It's still not Drugs' Saxton Hale voice lines, and a lot of the Merc's new voice lines are basically imitations of the original voices, especially considering the voice actors like Rick May, who played the original TF2 Soldier Class's voice, has passed away from COVID in 2020. But you can imagine the joy it brought me and Drugs that the game mode that we inspired seemingly made it into official TF2 gameplay.
For me, it's not even really bittersweet. I'm excited that Versus Saxton Hale got a new game mode, and they're revitalizing it, and it looks better and plays better than it's ever played before. And it's awesome that, you know, I'm a part of that history, whether or not I'm there now. I was part of the original, and without that, you wouldn't have what's here now, which is awesome. And that's a legacy that I hope the TF2 community will always remember, that it was me who helped by just being there. That's one of the craziest things about doing acting and voice acting and whatever, is that you just kind of, by existing, you make these amazing things happen that everybody loves, and you get to be a part of that. And I hope that it gets even close to where the original popularity is, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I hope that the mod maker goes on to do more things, and that now that I've been able to reestablish communication with him, they'll keep me in mind for future projects. Okay, that's it, bye.
It definitely took a while to fine-tune the Saxton Hale game mode in several TF2 updates and bug fixes, but now that Team Fortress 2 has regained the interest of Valve, and the popularity of the game has been regained, it fills me and Drugs with glee to know that the game mode we inspired with these voice lines and my music track has made it as a canon TF2 game mode. So, to celebrate and for the sake of documenting the history of TF2, I have uploaded the original Saxton Hale music track on platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and so on, hopefully leading the new generations to learn a tiny bit of Team Fortress 2 history. The links are in the description, as well as a direct Google Drive download for free. Thank you, and good night.